So today I'm doing reflection 4 for my lesson I taught at Owens Elementary in the kindergarten class. I actually did this lesson when I was in field. And my lesson is over 3D solids, and the students were required to just kind of understand the faces of a 3D solid, and they have already kind of had a base knowledge of 3D solids. So we were doing which solids can roll, stack, and slide. And so because they had already had a base knowledge of solids, it wasn't difficult planning because I knew that they already understood what faces were, what vertices were, and what edges were, and so I was able to already know that they had that knowledge, so I was able to talk about that when we did our lesson. So really planning it wasn't difficult. Rolling, and the problem with planning is that rolling and sliding is kind of like, there's a cube and you can roll a dice, but technically that's not the kind of rolling that the teacher wanted them to understand. And so they had, that was a little bit of a problem of trying to explain rolling, the difference between rolling and sliding. And so when planning, I had to really focus on that. But other than that, there weren't any problems planning. Implementing the lesson was really good. The students all sat around the carpet, and they had done a show and tell of their 3D solids. And so we got to use what they had. It just froze. Okay. They got to use what they had, and they brought their 3D solids, and they got to explain what 3D solid it was and how they could tell that it was that 3D solid. And so then we passed those around the group. We were all sitting in a circle on the carpet, and then we talked about the number of faces, the number of edges, the number of vertices of a cone, a cube, a cylinder, and a sphere, because those were the 4 we were focusing on today, or that day in our lesson. And so that lesson went really well. When they were at their individual groups and they were practicing rolling, stacking, and sliding, the only problem was, again, rolling and sliding. And I just explained to them that when it slides, it stays on one face. So a sphere doesn't slide because it's not like a cube where it just stays on one face and slides across a plane. And so then they understood it, and they did really well, and they had fun exploring the solids. And they just had a simple worksheet where it had each of the 4 solids, a picture of them, and it said roll, stack, slide, and they put check marks by it if it did. And then, as I was walking around, I asked some of them to tell me why it does that, and I was checking their work. And so the lesson went really well. The learning, I felt, was really well, because at first I gave them I had cube, cone, cylinder, and sphere written out on an anchor chart or a little pocket chart, and then I passed out pictures of things in real life, and they had to come and place them by what solid it was. And at first some of them had a little bit of trouble, but then we did a similar activity after they had their independent practice, and they all did really well. They all knew everyone, and they were also to better explain attributes of the solids. So that tells me that learning took place.